Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Friday Ramblings. We're going to discuss something that's a little thematically appropriate because if you're watching this when we first go live, this is going up on Black Friday. Real quick breakdown for those of you who are not familiar with Black Friday, as in maybe you live in a different country from the USA. Black Friday is an event in which basically every major retail store in the world has a major shopping sale bonanza. Super big shopping day. Classically one of the biggest shopping days of the year around the country. Now it occurs the day after the American Thanksgiving. So this is your Thanksgiving special with a little bit of Black Friday commercialism set in. That's right, we're going to discuss a movie that takes some shots at big business greed, corporate mindset. We're going to take a look at a movie that also takes a shot at big grub eating, American style. But more importantly, we are taking a look at a Troma movie, which means it is lower budget, independent film that tends to be a little gross. For those who don't know, Troma Pictures is an independent film studio that has been around for decades and is famous for making movies that involve a little bit of gore, a little bit of sex in the, sex joke, female nudity style, and a little bit of bathroom humor. Yep, these are movies that aim for the most basic primal urges out of all of us. That is part of the Troma style. But one of the keys is mostly because they are an independent film studio and do tend to operate with lower budgets. Their special effects for their various movies, many of which do have a bit of a horror slant to them, tend to be practical effects. And as such, do look a bit different than your CGI loving big budget movies. But Troma is good because Troma knows exactly who their audience is. Troma knows their exact identity and they embrace it and run with it. That's why we're giving them a little shout out. We may one day do a full Troma Studios in general breakdown, but as I said, this is kind of your Thanksgiving/Black Friday episode, so we're focusing on the movie known as Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead, which is officially a black comedy musical horror film. Now, like pretty much everything Troma, it is directed by Lloyd Kaufman, but is also co-directed by Gabriel Friedman from a screenplay by Friedman and Daniel Bova. The movie's going to clock in at 103 minutes, and is a good time all around. At least if you're into all that stuff we just talked about. As we said, the movie is in many ways a black comedy satire of certain horror films, while also doing a bit of its own thing. Mostly making fun of the food industry. Majority of your core cast has names that are references to fast food chains. You have the main protagonist, Arby, spelled with an I-E, but referencing the roast beef kings, Arby's. You have Arby's ex-girlfriend, Wendy, representing, of course, Wendy's. Wendy's current girlfriend, Mickey, a reference to McDonald's, which is often known unofficially for short as Mickey D's. See how that works. General Leroy, the founder of our restaurant in question, who is modeled after Colonel Sanders and thus solidifies the entire restaurant as being a KFC stand-in. The manager of the restaurant, Denny, a reference to the Denny's diner chain. and a female burqa-wearing Muslim line cook named Hummus, as in the dip. Oh wait, forgot one. The redneck fry cook Carl Jr., representing, of course, the Carl's Jr. chain, and by extension, because of the merger, its sister franchise, Hardee's. It's all good. Oh, excuse me, a couple more. That's what I'm saying. This is how deep the satire is, basically. Entire core cast. Getting ahead of myself. Mexican employee Paco Bell, referencing Taco Bell, and one of the first victims of the Chicken Dead, a character who looks nothing like the man in real life, but a large obese man known as Jared, who is accused of being that guy who ate a lot of food from a particular restaurant chain and allegedly lost a ton of weight. We all remember that little sub-shot buddy there. But the less said about that, the better, given where he is in this day and age. We also have a cameo appearance by Ron Jeremy, who serves as a parody of the Crazy Ralph character from the first Friday the 13th movie. So, there you go. Just looking at the cast list, you can already see it is satirical as all heck. Arby and Wendy decide to consummate their relationship in the Troma Native American burial ground after their high school graduation. Arby is upset because Wendy's going off to college without him. Wendy promises that she will always stay faithful to him. However, before they can finish consummating, they notice a man enjoying himself while watching them try to consummate. Thus, they leave in disgust. He is then killed by zombies as he continues to disrespect the Native American burial ground by continuing to pleasure himself while on said grounds. The undead do not appreciate that kind of shenanigans. A few months later, Arby returns to the spot to find out that not only has burial ground been bulldozed and replaced by a restaurant known as the American Chicken Bunker, but that Wendy has returned from college as a, quote, left-wing lipstick lesbo liberal, and is along with her new girlfriend Mickey protesting the building, parroting a lot of the real-world anti-fast food protests by various animal rights activists. Arby decides he will show his ex-girlfriend that he doesn't need her and he is not going to put up with her shenanigans by getting a job at the restaurant himself, thus being part of what she is now opposed to. This drives the main plot of the movie, as everything from this point takes place at the restaurant. Arby meets the various cast members that we have discussed already, as well as a not mentioned, played by Lloyd Kaufman himself, mysterious 60-year-old man who works as the costumed mascot. I'm not going to tell you much more about him because it would ruin a plot point of the movie, and we are here to tease, not to spoiler. Almost immediately upon the restaurant opening for its first day of business, things begin happening at this restaurant that, as said, was built on a Native American burial ground. This includes Paco Bell being pushed into the meat grinder by an uncooked and thus undead chicken. Woohoo! Shortly thereafter, the owner of the entire franchise, the General Leroy, shows up and, upon giving a speech that points out he is all about the money and not as much about the employee safety, decides they'll go ahead and use that ground up meat to make some of his trademark sandwiches, specifically the Sloppy Jose. People order the food and eat it, slowly getting more and more sick as time goes on. Unfortunately, Paco's soul is not at rest and is reanimated as one of the Sloppy Jose sandwiches. He then tells Arby what is going on, specifically that the spirits of the various undead chickens that were slaughtered to provide the meat for the restaurant have commingled with the angry spirits of the Native Americans who had their burial ground disturbed to create supernatural shenanigans. More employees are killed off, including Carl Jr., as Arby begins getting more and more paranoid about what is going on. Musical sequences roll along, because as we said, it is not just a black comedy horror film, but a musical, including Arby bemoaning that all he really wants is to get back with Wendy and make sweet love to her. Wendy herself having divided feelings between current girlfriend Mickey and the girl-on-girl lifestyle, or her lingering feelings for Arby and his man-meat. The protests continue with General Leroy trying his best to show that there is nothing wrong with his restaurant or its various policies, especially in front of the press. Unfortunately, as various employees are killed and become undead chicken-like abominations themselves, more of the meat becomes tainted, and when Leroy decides to placate the protesters by offering them free chicken, because, hey, at the end of the day, what American doesn't want free food? The handful of undead chicken zombie things becomes a teeming horde. Arby, Wendy, Hummus, and the rest of the surviving employees, which is now rapidly dwindling, must fight to the death for this. Their own survival, as well as making sure that this infection does not spread and consume the entire town, if not the world. Now, as I said, I really can't give you too many more plot points to this because we would be getting into specific spoilers, except to say that in classic Troma fashion, as I mentioned earlier about those gory practical effects, when the Horde manages to take over the majority of the restaurant, including the regular civilians that were still in there, you get a multi-minute sequence that, well, if you're not prepared for such things, can turn your stomach, as we get a variety of kills that involve a lot of showing off just how good prosthetics and fake blood can get you. Some of them being a little disturbing. It's like this. If you've never seen a horror movie that uses old school practical effects, basically pretty much anything from the 70s, 80s, up to the early 90s, you are going to be a little caught off guard by just how gory and sickening some of this stuff can look. We're not talking about quick, heads being crunched stuff like you get in the Saw movies and, you know, the Hostels and that ilk of stuff that's been made in relatively modern times. And I'm not saying that those modern movies are neither good nor bad. We're not here to judge those movies or go into detail of them, but those kills tend to be shocking but relatively quick. These are sequences where you're not only getting large amounts of victims at the same time with the camera cutting between them, but some of these are death sequences that can take, you know, a good solid minute just by itself. And I know a minute doesn't sound like a lot of time to the average person who's used to never having enough time in the day. But when you're watching somebody's body getting slowly pulled apart, a minute can be a long time. Still, that is why it is a horror movie, folks. It should unnerve you just a little bit. Need a bit. But there's also various fun sequences. As we've said, it is rife with satire, mirroring real-world protests against big corporations and the fast food industry specifically, getting in various digs at both sides of that equation in a style that could only be done in the early 2000s. Again, we're going to kind of get into a general Troma feel here for a minute. These movies are not movies that are going to be widely accepted by a lot of people who are very concerned about social issues. There's a few racial jokes in there. As I said, there's a lot of sexual discussion type stuff in here. Several instances of topless women who are being admired for their lustful appeal. On top of the poop jokes, some of which are visual. Because, of course, when you are ingesting undead, tainted meat, it is going to have an effect on your digestive system. But for people that can handle that kind of content, it is a very enjoyable movie. Most Troma content is. If you know what you're coming in for, you're mentally and emotionally prepared for it, and this is kind of what you have a, you know, good time exposing yourself to, Poultrygeist is a great movie. It is worth seeing at least once in your life. I'm not saying it should become a new Thanksgiving tradition. Honestly, I probably won't watch it for a few more years. I may watch it one more time just to make sure my opinion on it has not changed over time. Because, I'll be honest, there's a few movies that's a thing with. You know, I've been like, well, you know, it was alright. And then I go back and watch it. I'm like, you know, I didn't notice this stuff the first time. This movie's more, you know, this movie's a little different than what I initially thought. That's cool. That's good. That's why you really can't be one and done with a lot of stuff unless it does thoroughly turn you off and you find zero good in it. And some people will do that with Poultrygeist. Myself, I like to think the kind of people that watch my channel, the kind of people that enjoy the kind of entertainment that I enjoy, that we've discussed over these, you know, 220 plus episodes, almost 230 episodes, would enjoy this movie. If you're new to the channel and this isn't your thing, you know what? Feel free to let me know. As long as you're respectful and constructive about it. Still, as I said, this is a movie that in a lot of ways makes me think of Thanksgiving. You've got mass eating of classic American fast food. You have got consumerism at its most blatant. You've gotten greed at its most obvious. And unfortunately, that's what the day after Thanksgiving has become. Heck, these days we can't even really say that, thanks to internet shopping and the pushback against how dense and stressful and determined the crowd can be. The classic Black Friday sales are starting to spread out across the month. The whole month of November is kind of becoming a shopping free-for-all, at least on the weekends. So, it is a movie that is, as I said, pushing 20 years old. Came out in 2006, so it would be 18 years old as of the time I'm recording this. No, 2023, 4, 5, 6, 17 years old. Excuse me. As of the time I'm recording this. But the real messages at the core of the movie do stand, and that is respect ancient Indian burial grounds. Don't do anything there except show respect for the dead. Try to moderate your fast food consumption, especially if it's looking a little tainted by supernatural, vengeance-filled spirits. In fact, stay away from supernatural, vengeance-filled entities in and of themselves. They are not there to party and have a good time with you. If your boss tends to think that human lives are nothing and money is everything, go ahead and get a job at another company. You'll probably be better off. If not, live several years longer. But at the core of it all is the main message and moral that we have talked about on Roulette Productions for over 200 episodes, and that is find your entertainment. Enjoy your entertainment. Don't get too angry over your entertainment. No matter what the pessimistic side may think of this Thursday, Friday, 48-hour combination, Thanksgiving is about giving thanks for what you have that makes you enjoy life. Family, friends, love. Even the love between two friends doesn't have to be romantic love, doesn't even have to be familial love. You can love a friend. You can love a well-cooked meal. I'm not ashamed to say I do enjoy eating. Nothing wrong with that. Especially a good home-cooked meal. A few side dishes. Little dessert. Makes a man smile. Good times. And keep that feeling with you. Whatever your happy place is, embrace it. Roll on through November, through December, all the way to the new year. So you start that new year off with a smile. That's what we're going to do. Me, myself, I think I'm going to focus on those positives. And I'm going to think about how much I did enjoy my viewing of Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead. And anybody who thinks that the stuff that I tip of the iceberg touched about, there's a whole lot of iceberg right down here. I just discussed what was floating over the surface, as icebergs tend to be. Check the movie out. In fact, you can check out the entire Troma library. Well, maybe not the entire, but a massive portion of it on streaming, specifically. And again, this is not an official endorsement, not a sponsorship, just saying the Tubi app, that is Tubi. They have a Troma Productions channel, or Troma Media Entertainment, I think is the official name of the company, or Troma Entertainment channel. So you can go through the list of all their fun fare. And at the end of the day, just remember, whatever your entertainment choices are, enjoy your entertainment. Enjoy life. Because that's what it's all about. Have a happy holidays. Don't worry, we will be here throughout December to help keep you smiling. Enjoy your leftovers. Try not to shop until you drop. Make sure you have enough left in you to get home. And like, comment, subscribe. Do all that good YouTube stuff. I'm always here on Fridays to ramble. And that means you can get a second helping. See what I did there? Next Friday. Bye-bye, folks.